What's up, y'all? Welcome back to Fish the Moment. Today, I want to talk to you about a forgotten resource for finding offshore bass that I use all the time and that will give you an edge over your competitors, and that's paper maps. Let's get into it. Okay guys, so you may be wondering, Johnny, why are you using paper maps? There's so many resources out there for mapping, like the Navionics web app or the Genesis social map, which are free online. You also have the Navionics chips, you have the LakeMaster chips, the C-Map chips, all these different contour line map softwares that show what the bottom of the lake looks like. Well, what I find is that these maps aren't always perfectly accurate, and also that these paper maps have extra details that these other mapping softwares don't have on them. And so I use these maps all the time to find secret locations, secret areas that give me an edge over my competitors. And I want to talk about 4 reasons why you should be buying paper maps and 4 ways that I use them to find a lot of good fish offshore. But before we jump into it, I just want to let you guys know that the black and white paper maps are the best ones to find. If you can find yourself the black and white paper map for your lake, these are the gold mine for finding hidden types of structure and cover. And there are a lot of different types of maps out there. You have the hotspots maps, you have more hotspots maps. I have a lot of maps. These are some other brand maps. I have so many. This is like 1/10 of the maps I own, and I have them scattered all over my house, all my apartment, my parents' house, all kinds of stuff. So you have a lot of different maps available, but these black and white paper maps always seem to have the juiciest spots and the juiciest information, and I think it's just put together by some of the old timers who knew the lake before they had the Navionics maps and all that stuff, and so maybe they even know what the lakes look like before they were flooded or impounded. So definitely look for the black and white maps. These are the ones you need. Okay, so the first thing I'm looking for on my paper map are man-made structures like graveyards, road beds, pond levees, things like that. And you can usually find a lot of these things on these old paper maps because the people that made these maps knew what the lake looked like before it was impounded. And you usually find a nice little legend somewhere up in the top corner of the map, and you can basically just go around the map looking for the roadbed icons, the railroad icons. And usually you can also see where the creek channels are in these maps, and specifically if you have a roadbed or a railroad, you can actually look for places where a creek channel and a railroad intersect. This is usually going to create some sort of bridge or some sort of culvert or something under the water that kind of has an opening in that road or that railroad track. And those are some of the key places that I find a lot of fish, and it's kind of how I find a lot of my good underwater bridges and culverts when I don't have that much time to graph around the lake. I'll use these paper maps to identify them. I'll go graph them in practice, see if there's fish down on them, and then catch a lot of big fish. And so the offshore roadbeds, as well as offshore man-made structures like the pond levees, as well as old graveyards, stuff like that, house foundations, you can find a lot of these things on these paper maps that won't show up on the LakeMaster chips, the C-Map chips. Even though they do have some, they won't have all of them like these black and white paper maps do. The next thing I find with these maps are the man-made fish attractor locations. And a lot of times you can actually find these fish attractor locations online on the Game and Fish websites. For example, you can go to the Arkansas Game and Fish website and download all of the fish attractors they put in the lakes, and the GPX files you can download straight to your Fishfinder, which is awesome. They also have maps of those things as well on a lot of Game and Fish websites, but I feel like some of these paper maps were created before they actually put in a lot of those fish attractors, and these are some different brush piles that people just know about or people maybe put over the years in the lake. And so not all of these are the ones you'll find on the Game and Fish websites. And so sometimes I'll go find that some of these brush piles are gone, they've eroded away, they're not there anymore. But sometimes these brush piles are in places where guys restock the brush piles year over year over year, and the locals will do it. And this is more common with these black and white maps, but I have found it happen sometimes on some of the other kind of colored maps I have. But a lot of times you can find these man-made fish attractors like the brush piles, the tire piles, stuff like that on these maps. I'll just go graph them and just spend a day just going and graphing all the different places where they put them. And sometimes, again, they might not have any brush piles or anything there, but they can still be really good areas that fish will relate to, and I can still find some good areas just by looking for the little brush pile markers, again using the legend up here and then looking at them on the map. So definitely really useful information there. Another reason I like paper maps is they'll actually show me where different types of cover are on a fishery. If I take this map of Lake Gunnersville, for example, this map will show me all the places where you have underwater vegetation, submerged vegetation, emergent vegetation, where you have stumps. A lot of times you'll find maps where they show you where the standing timber is. And this might not seem like that great information when you first look at a map, but a lot of times you might find that you get on a pattern where you start catching them on lily pads. And I've actually done this on Sam Rayburn Lake and used the Sam Rayburn paper map to do this. And I'll look in all the pockets and the coves where you see lily pad markers, and for whatever reason, lily pads aren't all over the lake. They're only in certain pockets. And I used my paper map to find all the locations where the lily pads were present, and I ran that pattern around the lake and caught a lot of good fish. Same thing goes for standing timber or for grass, all kinds of stuff. And I found that this is super helpful over the years for replicating patterns when I get on an area where I'm fishing a certain type of cover, but I can't find any other areas around the general vicinity that have that same type of cover. But a lot of times you go to the paper map, you'll find another area that looks similar to the area you're fishing with the cover marked on the map. You go over there and you start catching them again. And so it seems kind of basic and obvious, but it's something that can really help me dial in patterns and put a lot of extra fish in the boat. So definitely don't overlook the advantages of knowing where the different types of cover are on these paper maps. And then the last reason I use these paper maps is because they'll actually tell me the names of different areas of the lake, which seems very basic and kind of insignificant. But one thing that I've found over the years is that when I'm fishing in tournaments or I go to the local tackle shop, someone might say that maybe they're fishing the Arley Moor area on Lake DeGray, and the fish are biting really well in standing timber in Arley Moor. Well, I have no idea where Arley Moor is on a map when I just pull it up. You can't find it on the Navionics web app very easily, and really the only way you'll know where that area is if someone will tell you, which you know all fishermen are secretive and they may not actually tell you where the location is, or they may even tell you the wrong location, which has happened to me before, which is kind of mean to do like a 14-year-old kid, but it happens. Or you can get one of these paper maps or one of these hotspots maps that is going to have the areas named on the map. And so you can then find these specific creeks that you're looking for just by using these paper maps. And a lot of times if you overhear someone talking about a specific area, or you just hear over time that like this one area is really good, like Blakely Creek on Lake Washita, you'll be able to go find Blakely Creek and you'll be able to hopefully find some fish there. And so don't underestimate the advantage of just knowing what the creek names are themselves, especially when you talk to a lot of local fishermen. And the other thing that these hotspot maps can help you with is they can tell you specific areas that are productive, and so you can kind of look through here and find these little area markers. This map is not unfolding, but I'll show you here in an overlay. But you can find all of these areas, and they'll have all these areas marked with the species of fish you expect to find there and the description of the area. And the species of fish and stuff like that, not super helpful to be honest, but a lot of times it can at least tell you the type of cover that's there, maybe the time of year that the local fishermen seem to catch them well in these areas, and it's just more information that can help you dial in a pattern. It's not going to be groundbreaking stuff, it won't put you on the fish, but as much information as you can get as a fisherman is helpful, especially when there's not that much information out there available on specific lakes because the locals hold it tight to the vest. So these are just 4 reasons why I like to use my paper maps and why I always buy up every paper map I can find on my local fisheries. And again, my recommendation is to find every brand of map that you can find for your lake, the old maps, the new maps, look online for these maps, and you're definitely going to be able to find some secret areas other anglers are not fishing, and also just narrow down your search on a new fishery that you've never been to. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully this is helpful and will help you find some more fish offshore and just in general next time you go fishing. So thanks again for checking this video out, and I'll see you on the next one.